Hi everyone, my name is Daniela Engelberg. This is my sister Ariane. I'm currently a student at Porter School. I'm studying the Masters of Environmental Studies. And my sister Ariane is now in Guatemala. She's the creative director of the New Denim Project, which is the newest venture of the third generation textile mill. Today, we're going to be discussing a little bit about sustainability issues in the textile and apparel industries, how it has changed through time, and we'll also tell the story from our point of view within the industry and the future effects of COVID-19 in the fashion industry, which we hope will change for the better. So my grandfather founded Iris Textiles in 1956 in Guatemala City. And my sisters and I, the three of us, grew up watching them facing the challenges, my dad and my grandfather as well. It was a battle of pennies in the textile industry. It was all about which manufacturer produces the highest volume at the cheapest price. And in our mill there was a need for constant innovation and reinventing the business. But now in the fashion industry today, clothes and textiles are cheaper and more accessible than ever, and low prices are coming now at a very high cost, a high cost for our planet. The dark side of the industry is something that hasn't been discussed enough. As a result of the rise of fast fashion, the apparel industry has had more awareness now, but it's still lacking a lot of attention. So why are we not talking about the fashion industry as much as we talk about the oil industry, for example? We are all part of the problem. We all have clothing, so why do we feel so far away from this problem? In today's fashion industry, a t-shirt can cost less than a cup of coffee. So customers will not make that extra effort to take care of their clothing or to alter them for longevity. It's barely even considered now. So also the number of seasons has increased from 2 or 3 seasons per year to 50 or 100 micro seasons. That's so cheap for us, but the damage it's causing to the planet is too big. According to the World Bank, you can see here in a graph that global clothing consumption has doubled from 50 billion units of clothing in sales in 2000 to over 100 billion units in 2015. And now each garment is used even half as long as what people used to wear them before. As we grew up watching the struggle of the industry in Guatemala, Ariane will tell us now a little bit about the case study of Guatemala.
Yeah, thank you, Dani. So our mill has always been focused on the production and development of natural fibers, specifically cotton. But as Daniela was saying, this industry has shifted drastically throughout the decades. And each year we see more imports coming in from Asia that are sold at a lower price than the cost of our yarn. And we have also seen a vast flow of imports of secondhand clothing into the Guatemalan market, which is really equivalent to what we call fast fashion in other places, where people are presented this model of buying more for less, and each year it just gets prices get more affordable and cheaper, but the costs keep getting higher environmentally and socially for our communities and for our natural resources. So this rapid accumulation of meaninglessness is really not the type of world we want to live in. I believe that us, humanity, we do not prefer low quality, but it was only through the rise of this fast fashion model that is based on this artificial creation of short-term trends combined with clothing that is believed to be disposable. So again, this cheap mentality comes at really high costs, especially for us who are at the beginning of the supply chain. And a lot of this model is really due to a very cheap material, polyester. And polyester is in more than 50% of all our clothing today. We have passed from the 1980s to producing 5 million metric tons of polyester to today where we are producing 70 million metric tons. And fast fashion is fueled by this material, and it's absolutely disastrous. It is non-biodegradable, and it's non-breathable. It's extremely energy intensive, and we believe is creating a whole different problem of microplastics in our oceans and in our food supply. So it's really become a challenge of how do we get rid of this material, specifically in the textile and fashion industry. How do we clean up this mess and start focusing again on using natural fibers and recycled fibers, because there is so much waste being generated only in Guatemala.
Yes.
We export more in value of apparel. I mean, it's in the top with coffee exports, with sugar exports, and banana exports. So just in our local industry, there is enough waste that is floating around for us to do textiles and clothing, I would say, for the next century. So how do we take advantage of this material that is floating around in our ecosystem and use it creatively as a species and as a way to present a new proposal into this industry?
So for every pound that we throw away as a consumer, a business threw away 40 pounds to get that product to us. And if we talk about how much trash is actually being thrown away by consumers, textiles, talking about textiles, it's equivalent to one garbage truck of clothes every second, which is 2,600 kilograms of clothing per second. This is enough to fill a 1.5 Empire State Building every day. 1.5 Empire State Building of textiles every single day. So it's a lot of waste. And behind that waste, the amount of water that is being used to create these garments, it takes 2,700 liters of water to make a shirt and 8,500 liters to make a pair of jeans. Just so that we can have a point of reference, the average person uses up to 150 liters of water per day. And the amount used to make a shirt and a pair of pants is the same amount the average person is supposed to drink in 15 years. And yet, when we talk about scarcity of water, we don't mention the fashion industry. It doesn't come up. It's at least not the first or second or third topic that comes up. And I haven't mentioned yet that fabric dyeing uses 5 trillion liters of water every year. So it's very worrying. It's very alarming. These figures are proof that there's a very dark side to this industry. Even though the supply chain is very long and it's very hard to measure the carbon emissions of the industry, these figures are enough to worry. And we also know that if nothing changes, if we keep operating the way we are operating, by 2050, the fashion industry will have used up a quarter of the world's carbon budget. And right now we have only 9% of it left. So it's pretty urgent to make this shift. And I also believe that recycling of used clothing and upcycling of waste is pretty essential in order to be able to save our diminishing natural resources. And talking about upcycling, maybe Ariane, you can tell us now about the process of the New Denim Project and how this started, how this project started in the textile factory.
Yeah, of course. So as you know, we could keep talking about the negative impact and the challenges of the industry forever. But that's precisely what we saw when we founded the project and when we launched this new upcycling venture and system, that the opportunity to create change in the industry was huge, and the demand for a new proposal and new textiles was actually urgent. So the New Denim Project was born, you know, as a project to save our family business, but also to fight against this notion that textiles are disposable and the only way to create this amazing craft is to do it in a toxic way. So we wanted to challenge that premise, and we thought there has to be a way to spin, weave, and create textile products with it being in a sustainable way and at the same time have it be a profitable system. So this is the 6th year since we launched, and how it works is we collect only local waste. So we collect 3 different types of waste: pre-consumer fiber that is discarded from other spinning mills, pre-consumer textile scraps that come from denim factories' cutting tables, and third, post-consumer textile waste that is basically what you discard from your closet and give to the Salvation Army or donate to charity, and that type of waste usually ends up in countries like Guatemala being imported in bales for pennies. So we collect these 3 different types of waste. Each is broken down separately. We break it down, turn it back into fiber, and this fiber is later respun without adding any synthetic fibers into the mix, in which we create our wide variety of yarns. And these yarns are the ones that we use to weave our curated woven fabric collections, which you know, we sell back into the market in this textile to textile upcycling system. And so one of the advantages that we have, you know, over other mills that are also upcycling short fibers is that we managed to create this textile to textile upcycling system within a closed loop model. So the waste that is being generated from our spinning, from, you know, whatever is discarded after we upcycle we have the cotton seed that is left over, and this is sent to our coffee partners, Finca San Jerónimo, Miramar. And for those of you who have been to Guatemala, this is an eco-diverse farm and nature reserve where they are exploring natural methods to grow coffee and other crops. So they take our cotton seed material and they mix with other organic materials to create a compost. So this cotton seed is mixed, for example, with manure, coffee pulp, wood chips, and different organic materials. And then this compost is used to feed and serve as a natural fertilizer for coffee and all the other crops that are being cultivated.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's my personal favorite part of the entire process, especially because it involves collaboration and it's not narrow-minded, but it's opening the horizons for many different industries and not just for the textile industry, right? And as they say, waste is abundant and cheap, and natural resources are expensive and finite. So why not make use of waste instead of our natural resources?
Yeah, and it makes me think of right now what we are experiencing with this whole COVID-19 situation, that we were forced to be isolated, from our families, from our friends. And a lot of people, I would say most of us, struggled at the beginning with this isolation. And I think a big part of that reason is because, as humans, we are social animals. And I think it's a key element of our species to collaborate and join in groups to really bring out the most of our creativity and of our human spirit and of our capabilities as creative beings. So, we are seeing all types of collaboration now within nations to come up with a vaccine, in an urgent manner. And obviously we need a global cooperation. And we have been saying the same thing since we founded this project, that we need collaboration throughout the entire supply chain to really be able to deal and come up with sustainable and tangible solutions for this system and this industry. So we need, not only a circular system in terms of materials and of processes, but also in terms of the communication within the players of the supply chain, from the farmer to the mill to the designer, all the way up to the consumer who will have, the object in their closets.
Yes, of course. I don't think that we can do our best on our own. I think our best comes always in cooperation and in collaboration within also cross-industry cooperation, right? So I would also like for everyone, regardless of which industry you're at, to think with which other industries, something that has never come up to your mind, there could be some sort of collaboration. Because I think that when our grandfather started this factory, or when our father was working with him, I don't think they ever thought that they had something to do with coffee growers. But we are now, it's the industry that helps us close the loop.
And so that you can have a more visual experience, we'd love to share with you a short video that we did on our cross-industry collaboration with Finca San Jerónimo, which are our coffee partners, our coffee growers and farmers, and Nosa Familia, which are coffee roasters based in Portland, Oregon, as well as Keen Footwear, which is part of the apparel industry, so that you can see for yourselves.
The Keen Harvest collection began over 10 years ago, and it was built on the simple premise of repurposed for a purpose. We wanted to look beyond the typical supply chain where you build products from virgin materials and see what else was out there. This year, Keen partnered with Portland coffee roaster Nosa Familia to take the bags that their coffee beans arrive in and give them a second life. We traveled into the heart of Guatemala to learn about coffee bags. But before they were even coffee bags, the material was post-industrial and post-consumer recycled denim from the New Denim Project.
The pre-consumer waste are leftover fabric. The post-consumer waste is produced from secondhand clothing. So this is the clothing that gets broken down and turned back into fine yarns and fabrics.
We're on a constant hunt for materials. As soon as I saw the fabric, I just said, that's a great material. These things are perfect for the Harvest collection at Keen.
This is what we're left over after our spinning process. And this is what's sent over to the coffee growers to grow their coffee.
Here in San Jeronimo, we're very interested on sustainability. We've gotten big on the compost. We're gonna lay around, I think, 800 tons of compost with manure, coffee pulp, and other wood scraps and cotton from the Newden project. We always say about how important it is to think on the long run. It's more sustainable because it's pre-consumer waste that is being taken advantage to make something beautiful like the coffee bag. The coffee bag by itself is something super beautiful. You see it stacked up, really neat, really nice.
At No Familia Coffee, we import green coffee, and we basically roast that coffee. There's been a couple times where I've worked with farmers where I've been lucky enough to be there for the first time they got to try their own coffee roasted well and brewed well. We as a company work with our farmers a little bit differently than some coffee companies, in that almost all of our farm relationships are long-term standing relationships. We're helping them get fair prices for what they're actually creating.
Slowly, we've been gaining more collaborations from other coffee farmers, and we partnered with De La Gente.
De La Gente is a nonprofit social enterprise that works with small-scale coffee farmers in Guatemala to build economic opportunity. We envision a more equitable and inclusive coffee industry that serves everyone involved in making your cup of coffee. Last year, to give you a sense, we were able to pay prices that averaged 20% better than what farmers were getting in other places.
Upcycling is a project that it's gonna take all of us, all of the time, and that's the point. So we need each other to close the loop eternally on these materials. And create beautiful products from these that can be reused over and over and over again, and eliminate completely the concept of waste.
So let's talk a little bit about the positive impact that the industry can have, because we've already talked about all the negative impact it has on Earth and in our communities. We are proud to share that we have managed to upcycle nearly 1 million pounds of textile waste, which prevent the use of 7.5 billion liters of water and nearly 1 million pounds of toxic chemicals per year.
And I think it's important to mention as well, because I think the term sustainable design is a little abstract. So for us, really, the term sustainability, the word itself says it, right? It's something that can be sustained through time. Unfortunately, I think the word does not do justice to that design concept and principle, because really sustainable design, what it does is it imitates the way nature and life works. It is the most sophisticated manifestation of design. It is the architecture of life and all thriving species on Earth. It directly involves bio-inspiration, and it aims for a thriving future where we don't keep extracting virgin material from Earth and exploiting our natural resources, but we create systems and proposals that will add to our planet and not keep subtracting from it. So yeah, it's sustainable design is design molded to add to the Earth rather than remove to it. And I think any designers that are out there, whether it's system design or fashion design or any design, we know that design should exist in service of others. Design should have an intent. It should carry itself with compassion and empathy towards all living things. There's so much stuff out there. There is so much stuff. So if we're gonna create something, you know, that's gonna be out there, it has to be worth it. And the stage that we are now, I think it has to be something that comes with another type of DNA, you know, that the whole process was thought of from the most microscopic component up until the final design and color and aesthetic of the object or the system, whatever you know, we are creating.
And actually, to keep our discussion, we have a surprise for everyone.
Yeah, I will slightly introduce our surprise guest. So during, you know, this 6 years, as I've said, we've met amazing people, designers, architects, farmers, students, teachers, everything. And one of our maestros, I would say, is our partners in the apparel and home objects, the amazing guys behind Industry of All Nations, which is this brand based in LA. It was founded by 3 brothers, the Herskovich brothers. And for us, I think they have really pushed the envelope on sustainability and real circular design that is bringing back the products, the processes to the original makers, and working only with natural and recycled fibers, as well as natural dyeing process. And basically all of their work is made from plants. So everything is compostable, sustainable, and absolutely beautiful.
Hi friends, how Israel?
Hola.
This is Juan.
Talking to us from LA.
Yeah, I'm in LA, but I'm originally Argentinian. So I'm happy to be here with you guys and connected.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me. Super excited.
Thank you, Juani. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about, I already introduced a little bit from my perspective on the work and design process and vision behind Industry of All Nations, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more on why you decided to launch this company and your vision behind it.
Well, industry started like coming from a perspective from a bit lost, confused, and frustrated consumer after seeing year after year after year that every day more, every single product out there was being made suddenly in one country or in 2 countries for the only reason that was just cheaper to make it there, cheaper or easier, or one of those reasons just to make things faster for the only purpose to get more profits to the companies involved in this, no, in this type of productions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that it's impossible for a world where there's like around 200 products with 7 billion people to have everything made in one place, while seeing work stripped from every country, every community, every town, going back to one place for the reasons that I just mentioned. So thinking that a world like this cannot sustain, and seeing there was no option otherwise, we didn't see any company or any type of business providing an alternative to what we're thinking of. So that's why we decided to take the ball from the horn and create our own company and call it Industry of All Nations, which just from the name, no, that we put the company explains our goal and what we wanted to achieve. No, is bring production back to all the nations, bring production back to the original makers, bring production back where stuff and products were made before they were made in these very few countries. And so that's what moves out from day one, and still every day from work to spread and generate work, civilized, responsible work around the world. And more than ever, but in disgrace of this pandemic and suffering in a way that's going on throughout the world, but we're seeing something in the world more similar to our vision. So in a way, it's crazy because it took like a world health crisis for us to feel, okay, now we're seeing a world more similar to what we need. I think it's a time now where someone, we don't know if it's nature or it was humanly caused or something, but I think this time is somebody put it there for us, for the world, for humanity, to think from now on where we want to go. It's been all over the world, all the way from India through the Mediterranean, Africa, all the way to South America and Australia. We're all involved in this. We're all in a stop where we're all thinking in a way, either we want it or not, or realize or not, where we want to head.
I wanted to ask you, I saw a webinar with Dr. Ram Fishman. He's a lecturer in Tel Aviv University. Yeah. And he expressed how in every crisis, the emissions and the pollution decreases, but then when the crisis is over, it increases, and it increases by more. And this is a very pessimistic view, but I mean, I would say realistic more than pessimistic.
Yes.
It's a very realistic view. And I would also like to give a more of a optimistic opinion. And if you think there is a possibility that after the crisis, some things will change for this industry, for the textile and apparel industry.
Textile fashion industry.
If you think there is a slight opportunity.
I think there is a change because the change started even before the crisis. Here in the US, specifically, where I live and I'm based, and it's not only that, it's the largest consumption economy in the world. All these huge mega fashion corporations, they've been all in quite big trouble for the past few years in a booming economy as the US used to be until a month ago. So if they were in trouble in a very good economy, anyhow, now with this pandemic, which has brought a drop in selling opportunities by, I don't know, I would say 80%, because every single retail shop in the country have been closed down for the past, at least a month. We are already seeing these big fast fashion companies already filing for bankruptcy, already not knowing what to do. Department stores talking about closing, talking about 500 stores, 1,000 shops. All these brands not knowing what to do, like just trying to evolve in a situation where it's impossible for them to evolve because they are so big and so set in outdated standards to what we are consumers need right now, that I see there's no option for them either to disappear, as it's happening in our own eyes right now, or completely change what they're doing. I don't think consumers have the need of all these stuff and products that these companies have used to be making for the past 30 years. Yeah. So I see, at least in the fashion industry, I see a change years coming. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, if you, Daniela, notice that in Israel. How do you see that there?
What thing?
I don't know. How do you see that in Israel? How do you see clothing business acting? How do you see people consuming? Do you see reflecting what I say from the US, or is it a different reality?
I think it's a different reality because Israel is a very small population, so the impact it has is way less than the population in the United States, for example. But still, in Israel, you have the conscious consumers, which is the a minimal part of the population, and you have local brands which people still find too expensive, and the majority of the people are shopping in fast fashion. It's only beginning to be a subject of sustainable fashion. It's not really it doesn't make enough noise, not as much as I would want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is going to help that change quite a bit. I think from now on, people, when you shop something, I hope and I think will happen, you're going to think it twice what you buy, twice or three times. You're going to pay attention a lot more. Is it worth it? How is it made? Where is it made? Why is it made there? Maybe in a semi-unconscious way, but I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Every day more.
I also think that in the fashion industry, as consumers, we have a lot of power. There are industries like, for example, the energy industry, which it's a bit difficult to make a change as a consumer. You need more like the private sector or the government to make regulations to make a difference.
And also there are less options because you don't have like 20 electric companies to choose from.
But you rely on these big players for it to actually make a difference. But I think that in the fashion industry, as individual consumers, we have so much power. We are the ones that make the industry. So I think it's also very important to do things like what we're doing now and talk about it and make more awareness, because sometimes there's people that they don't even think about it. It's never come up to their mind. And when they hear it once, they start thinking about it, and it spreads with word of mouth, right? So I hope this is something that will come out of this crisis. Everybody's, I think, has had some time to reflect a little bit on everything and how much we don't need, right?
And to add to what you say, Dani, is like with our purchase, we're voting. Is the power of choosing with our purchase, and we do that every single day of our lives. It's one of the actions that we do most to shop, unfortunately. So with our vote, when you purchase something, we can change whatever we want to change. The thing is, we have to have the need to change things. So it starts from us. It starts from the bottom up. We cannot expect any more politicians or CEOs or whomever to change or blame that they're not doing what they have to do. It depends on us. Change needs to come from the bottom up, as easy as that.
Yeah, and I think it's also part of, brands to start giving consumers more ¿cómo se dice? Estima.
More importance.
More importance, and I think you can see this when you go, directly into the industry of all nations online shop, or in the stores in New York and LA, where you don't just go. It's not just a consumerist box like other stops. You really learn about the process. You learn about the hands behind each product. You learn why each product was made, and it's all really noble and long-lasting pieces that you can, that can last forever in your wardrobe and are not dictated by the fashion calendar. But the pace is a much slower pace of development and design, and even of purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of all the work that we do together. No, also like something with you guys. It's all giving much more importance to quality over quantity, and that's one of the main things that we need as a society. See if we want to go that way, because in a way, all the change that we need depends on that. What do we need? More stuff, or we need much less but much better?
Right.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
that involves no buying, eating, traveling, moving around, moving in your car. It's like basically we want to calm down and live slower and better. We want to continue in this like drastic race, going anywhere to gain a million things or I don't know what, for what reason.
Yeah.
So it involves it also involves knowing that we need less things. We need to become, I like to say, we need to become more animals. How do they live, animals? They just need food, air, and nature around them. So I think it's time to stop inventing. In a way, people say take this time because now there's going to be another revolution and take time to invent, and because now more what will come after crises. I think the crisis had to go the opposite way. I think the crisis is a crisis to stop and stop inventing, stop moving. Let's become more instinctive and know the real things that we need. The other things that we need are not man-made. I think that we need nature gives it to us.
That's nice.
As they say, there's more to discover than to invent. So whatever we need is already out there.
Yeah. So to wrap up, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Juan and Ariane. And we leave you guys with this beautiful video of our collaboration with Industry of All Nations. And remember to behave like animals. Bye.
Bye, Israel.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Tel Aviv. We love you.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Ciao.
having us.
¿Qué trae? Aguacate.